Thank you very much, Mr. Damit Gangodavilage, a member of our committee, for the warm introduction that you have given. Today, we are very happy to welcome all to this our seminar on development of the SME sector, challenges and opportunities. I warmly welcome the General Daya Ratnayake, Secretary, Ministry of Industries, who is going to give the keynote address to us today. So we are very happy that today we are also having from the Ministry of Industries, Ms. Ishani Abhiratna, the Director, and also the Chairman of the National Enterprise Development Authority, Mr. Jayaratna, who will be supporting General Daya Ratnayake. Then the others are, of course, we have Dr. Ravi Bamunusinghe, who is the moderator. We also have Mr. Suresh Dimel, the chairman of the Export Development Board, and of course, our very senior member, Dr. Kulatunga Rajapaksa, the emeritus managing director of the DSI Group, and we have Mr. Atula Idrisinghe, former chairman or president of the JICA. Then we also have Dr. Chamara Bandara, financial specialist. And I think those are our panelists. So just to tell a few words about this CMA Sri Lanka COVID-19 SME Development Committee. We started this during the commencement of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we were able to have meetings. Most of these meetings were held online on Zoom, and our committee comprises around 50 members, which includes the professional bodies, chambers of commerce and industry, commercial banks, and industry experts, and they have been meeting since April 2020 to find solutions to problems faced by the SME sector. Our first major event was in Hambantota, where we had the first major conference. I think I must thank our Mr. Suresh Dimel from the Hambantota Chamber, who is the director of the Hambantota Chamber, where we got all the support to have it in Hambantota, and the chief guest at that function was the Honorable Prime Minister. And this was also supported by the Ministry of Industry. So I think I'm sure our General Daya Ratnayake would be happy about it, and the Honorable Minister of Industries was present at this function. And one of the first major events that our committee did was to have a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Industries and tell him of the importance of funding the SME sector. So we gave him the concept of the setting up of the SME Credit Guarantee Institution. And immediately I went with Dr. Rajapaksa, we had this meeting, and immediately he put up a cabinet paper to set up this fund. This was something that had been earlier discussed and approved by the Asian Development Bank. Unfortunately, it had not taken off. So we were able to revive this. The Honorable Minister put this paper, and then finally it was approved by the Finance Ministry. And the Honorable Prime Minister at our conference in Hambantota, he also stated that as a Finance Minister, that he will give all the support to set up this credit guarantee institution, and now it is in operation. So I must thank the Minister of Industries. I think especially that today we have the Secretary of the Minister of Industries, General Daya Ratnayake, which I think will enable us and most of the SME sector to now, once this is finalized, which they are hoping by the middle of this year, to get funding under this credit guarantee scheme. So that's one of the major things. But in addition to that, we've also done a number of other programs to develop the capacity of the SME industries, a number of seminars, and also explaining them about the budget proposals in 2020. So a number of them were carried out. And today we are very happy that we are able to conduct this seminar on the development of the SME sector, challenges and opportunities. There are very many challenges faced by them, but there are also opportunities. And some of them are having big difficulties and we've not been able to do it. But the banks, now we had 9 banks who assisted us in this project in Hambantota, where there were about 350 SME entrepreneurs who were there. And they were really very, very thankful. And of course, the connection that we had with the Hambantota Chamber also helped us greatly. So with those introductory remarks, I would hand you back to our compeer in order that he can introduce the keynote speaker. I must especially thank General Daya Ratnayake for sparing his valuable time. We know that he has done a great service to this country as the commander of the army, where I think he knows the strategic areas that one has to look into, and also implementing good proposals. So I'm sure that his participation, and also as the secretary of the Ministry of Industries, that he will be able to give uplift the industrial development in this country, and that they will be able to make a major contribution to the economy of this country, especially at a time when we are short of foreign exchange. The local industrialists are having another opportunity of making their own products and selling it in the local economy. So I'm sure that this would be a great event. So anyway, without any further ado, I will now invite General Daya Ratnayake, the Secretary, Ministry of Industries, to deliver the keynote address at our important seminar, Development of the SME Sector, Challenges and Opportunities. Over to you, General Daya Ratnayake.
So I think, thank you, Professor, welcoming the our chief guest and the panelists. So today we have special, as Professor highlighted, we have special guest to deliver keynote address, General Daya Ratnayake, Secretary to the Ministry of Industries. And he was the former chairman of Sri Lanka Port Authority. General Daya Ratnayake was the 20th commander of the Sri Lanka Army. He was a proud product of Malayadeva College, Kurunagala, and he graduated from Defence Service Command and Staff College, Bangladesh, National Defence University, China, and Army Intelligence School, Arizona in the United States of America. Also, Cranfield University, United Kingdom too. He received many awards, including Veera Vikrama Vibhushana, Rana Vikrama, Rana Sura, Uttama Seva, and Deshaputra Padakkama. He has been recognized as the most decorated officer to have been made the commander. General Daya Ratnayake, kindly invite you to the screen to deliver your keynote address.
Thank you, Damit. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Can you hear me loud and clear, Professor?
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Aibowan, very good evening to all. Dr. Lakshman Vatawala, our moderator today, Dr. Kulatunga Rajapaksa, all other distinguished panelists, other invitees, participants. At the outset, let me thank Dr. Lakshman Vatawala for organizing and also his organizing team for organizing this very important panel discussion. I consider it's a great privilege and an honor for us to participate in this valuable discussion at a very crucial moment in our country. The theme today, as Dr. mentioned, development of SME sector, challenges and opportunities. And I will be also talking about development of SME sector and the support from the Ministry of Industries. To participate in the discussion, I have with me Mr. Sunil Jayaratne, Chairman and Director General of National Enterprise Development Authority, NEDA, and also Mrs. Aishani Abiratna, a director here at the Ministry of Director Corporation, Ministry of Industries. Ladies and gentlemen, the small medium enterprise sector has been identified as an important strategic sector in the overall policy objectives of government of Sri Lanka, and it is seen as a driver of change for inclusive economic growth, regional development, employment generation, and poverty reduction. SME sector is envisaged to contribute to transform lagging regions into emerging regions of prosperity. The government of Sri Lanka recognizes the SMEs as the backbone of the economy, as it accounts for more than 80% of the total number of enterprises, provide over 50% of the employment, and contributes around 55% of the gross domestic production in the country. SMEs promote broad-based equitable development and provide more opportunity for women and youth participation in the economic development of the country. With the globalization trend, the SME sector is not merely seen as a sector for protection and promotion, but more importantly, as driving force for growth and development. Therefore, Government of Sri Lanka recognizes that enhancing national and international competitiveness is fundamentally important for this sector to face the emerging challenges and develop SMEs as a thriving sector. Given the nature of this sector and the challenges faced, it is important to have a government-led intervention and support mechanism to upgrade and strengthen this sector to meet the expectations of the country. Government SME Policy Framework aims to promote high potential, promising SMEs, and improve business environment to allow them to recognize their full potential in today's globalized economy. Further, the policy framework will foster small enterprises to grow into medium-sized enterprises, and medium-sized enterprises to grow into large enterprises, and large enterprises to grow into globally competitive enterprises. If you look at the definition of the SMEs, the term SME is used to denote micro, small, medium enterprises. Different countries use different definitions for SMEs based on their level of development. The commonly used yardsticks are total number of employees, annual turnover, and total investment. In the Sri Lankan context, ladies and gentlemen, the SME policy framework defines SMEs based on the number of employees and annual turnover. For example, if you look at in the manufacturing and service sector, if you look at the micro sector and look at the turnover, and if you look at the annual turnover and number of employees, it is less than 15 million rupees, and also less than 10 employees. In the service sector also same when you look at the micro sector. Then the small industries, if you look at, it is 16 million to 250 million annual turnover, and number of employees is basically 11 to 50. That's again in the manufacturing and service sector, both are the same. So medium industries, if you look at enterprise, medium industries, if you look at the annual turnover is from 251 million to 750 million. That's the range. And number of employees you look at in the manufacturing sector, the 51 to 300 is the number. So then when you look at the service sector of the medium-sized enterprises, it is the annual turnover is 251 million to 750 million, and number of employees is 51 to 200. That's how it is being categorized and identified in Sri Lanka. Challenges faced by the SMEs, if you look at, when you look at the analysis of the key challenges faced by the SMEs in doing business, it is evident that lack of access to finance is the most crucial factor affecting SMEs, while technology and innovation is the second key constraint identified. Lack of infrastructure is the third key issue highlighted by many SMEs, followed by issues in registering the business and obtaining licenses. That's also a serious challenge. Market facilitation, taxation, lack of skilled labor, research and development, and lack of awareness are some of the major challenges faced by our SME sector here in Sri Lanka. So further, if you look at the key constraint with the SME lifestyle, and also challenges during SME life cycle, if you look at, even if you have the business idea, lack of strategic knowledge, lack of entrepreneurial skills, lack of knowledge on applicable laws and deciding a business model is a serious constraint. Then when you look at the business registration, inconsistency in prerequisites at provincial level in relation to sole, proprietary and partnership, commonly company name registration, lack of customer-centric processes and informative guidance are also challenges in business registration. Then I said lack of infrastructure. Inefficient process in obtaining government land is a serious challenge. Land title disputes, a lack of SME specific industrial zones, then hence high infrastructure cost and limited access to resources are some of those challenges under lack of infrastructure. Then access to finance, non-availability of adequate and timely credit, fulfilling collateral requirements, higher interest rates due to high risk of repayment, and lack of access to capital market and venture capital for startups. Then license and permits is also another challenge. Lack of informative guidance, time-consuming process, and high cost are again the points under license and permits challenges. Then marketing and promotion is also a serious issue. High competition from large-scale entities, higher associated costs for promotional activities, inappropriate selection of marketing channels, then lack of access to potential market those are the points under marketing and promotion. Then further key constraint in the operational side, absence of skilled labor, lack of knowledge about prevailing labor laws, lack of tax concessions, obsolete technology, lack of access for technical knowledge for obtaining certifications, higher cost associated with working capital, lack of managerial skills, and cost-efficient procurement of raw materials are basically the operational challenges faced by the SME sector. Then, even if someone wants to close the business, that also has it's also a serious challenge here. And stringent process processes to follow in closing the businesses. Then labor related issues after you close down the business are also some of the challenges. And finally, business expansion. Procedural concerns in import and exports, lack of infrastructure to cater for higher capacity, lack of government incentives for business expansions, lack of government interventions to create interdependencies between large, small entities, and financial constraints. These are, ladies and gentlemen, challenges during the SME life cycle. So list is a little longer if you look at. So, moreover, increasing severity of natural disasters, such as what we are experiencing nowadays, result in adverse effects on industrial performance, which will eventually surge most of the challenges faced by SMEs. It is apparent that even though numerous initiatives, schemes, projects have been launched by the government targeting the development of the SME sector, many difficulties are encountered by SMEs in doing business from the inception stage to closer to a business, which would also be deterrent for emergence of new entrepreneurs or startups. If you look at the key constraints with the SME life cycle, I just explained it. And further, if you look at now I explained a long list of challenges and constraints faced by the SME sector. If you look at the support that the Ministry of Industries is giving to this sector is enormous. Actually, so much support is being given to the sector by the ministry, and there are different ministries giving support. But if you look at under Ministry of Industries, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the organization of the Cabinet Ministry, Cabinet Ministry is there to formulate policies and other guidelines for the industry, basically and they are directly in charge of large-scale businesses and large-scale institutions under the Ministry of Industries. And there are 3 ministries being organized. When this government came into power, they've identified the rural industries, small industries, and indigenous industries. So those industries, and we have developed 3 state ministries under the Cabinet Ministry. And say the first ministry is Batik, handlooms, local apparels, and products. So second ministry is the brass, pottery, furniture, and rural industry promotion, industrial promotion. And the third ministry is gem and jewelry and related industries. So, ladies and gentlemen, initially, when we these industries were under the main cabinet ministry, the government allocated only a very small budget for these industries, like for example 25 to 30 million for one of these ministries that I just explained. So here when these ministries were formed to operate independently, so they are given fairly a big budget now with this government allocated funds, from the government allocated funds. So the ministry, if you look at the batik, handloom, and local apparel products, that ministry is given 1,760 million, 1.7 billion basically is allocated for this year for that ministry. And the ministry number 2, the brass, pottery, furniture, and rural industrial promotion, that ministry is given 2.8 billion, right? Rather, 2,089 million rupees being allocated for that ministry. And Gem and Jewelry Ministry, since it is kind of a rich ministry, government allocation is basically a small portion. It's about 991 million allocated for Gem and Jewelry Ministry. So more than that, this is how the ministry's organization structure is formed, and thereby large number of rural industries, small and micro, small and large countries are coming under these things, and there is a huge development taking place at this stage. So though for last 73 years, we have been supporting small and medium industries. The industrial ministry, if you look at in our economy, industry, the manufacturing is one of the major pillars in economy. So, however, we do not have industrial policy in the country, proper industrial policy. There have been policy frameworks, but it has not been properly integrated into one industrial national policy. So here, under the minister, we have taken the initiative, and now we are in the process of finalizing the industrial policy. Now, within next 5 to 6 months, we are going to launch that industrial policy, which we cover in the entire industry in Sri Lanka. And also under that, we have already formulated, say, for vehicle manufacturing or vehicle assembling and component manufacturing industry, which is now developing very rapidly in the country. So for that, we have developed a separate standard operational procedure. So with that, the entire sector has got themselves organized properly, and people under that is quite happy. We had at the initial stage of this introduction of this SOP, standard operational procedure, there are only 2 companies assembling vehicles. Now we have 4 companies doing it, and another about 10 to 12 companies being registered to open their businesses here in Sri Lanka. So that's the level of aggressive development here in that sector when we introduce all these policies and standard operational procedures. Then also we have taken all the industries under the industrial ministry, has put them into 20 categories, 20 groups, and all the industries, and we have appointed council, 20 council, and there are 20 council members each in all the councils, the sectors. So they are also now formulating their own policy based on the national industrial policy into subsector policies. So this is how we are structuring the policy, national industrial policy, and going down to the lower level. So the other important thing that recently you must be knowing that we organized this industrial exhibition for 4 days. It was held at Bandaranaike International Exhibition Center. That was a stunning success, and large number of entrepreneurs, large number of manufacturers had the opportunity of going there and presenting it to the people of the country. And thereby, there's a huge boost in the sector now because of that exhibition. For the first time, we had that exhibition in the country. That has given a huge boost for the industry. Then annual rewarding ceremony. We had that competition, and also that's had been going on for last 4 or 5 years. And this year also, we, in spite of all the challenges, we conducted it right around the country. It's been done, and 130 people were recognized as the winners. And last week we had the final awarding ceremony. His Excellency President came as the chief guest. That was also a huge boost to our industrialists. And then development industrial park. So this is another. We have for last so many years, we have developed only 33 industrial parks under the Ministry of Industries. And here, only about 300 million rupees or 400, maximum 300 to 400 million being allocated, given from the budget to develop industrial parks. But this time, the government has taken the initiative. They have given 5 billion, also 5,000 million this time given for this year to develop the industrial parks. So thereby all the districts, all the other regional areas will have industrial parks. We have identified the areas depending on the requirements, the availability of resources and things like that, the manpower and all those things being taken into consideration, and we have decided. And again, as I told you, the land issue is a serious problem, but that is also we are settling down with the help of Ministry of Land Ministry, and under the Ministry of Finance we have regular meetings, and finally we have come to, within this quarter we will organize about 20 industrial parks, and by the end of the year we will have 40 industrial new parks introduced or organized or started in the country. So then finally there is a loan system also being introduced, loan system for beginners, loan system to improve their businesses, and also the environment is a key thing, you all know, to improve their business environment with in line with the sustainable goals of the United Nations. So we are also improving our industrial parks, industrial industries, and that also we have introduced another. That area also we have introduced another loan system for the industrialists. Likewise, the government is supporting the SME sector, and with this I will stop, and I have Mr. Sunil Jayaratne and also Aishani. They will also contribute, and so Doctor, I will stop here. After that we can discuss if you have any worries, and others also can contribute. Our two panelists also can contribute. So thank you very much. This is what I have to say, Doctor.
Thank you, General. It is very indeed a pleasure of listening that what you are going to do, and it's the timely need to have the national policy for industry and especially for the SME development in the country. Now, actually, currently the difficulties faced by the SMEs are, we can say, three main things. They are facing the operational challenges, financial challenges, and the compliance challenges. So now we have to find solutions or the opportunities to overcome these challenges with our expert panel joined today. So with the thanking to General Daya Ratnayake for delivering the keynote address, now we are moving to the panel discussions to find out elaborate what are these challenges and what are the opportunities available for SMEs to overcome these challenges. So with us today, we have Dr. Kulatunga Rajapaksa, Emeritus Managing Director, DSI Samsung DSI Group of Companies, and also he is an active member of the Sme Sri Lanka COVID-19 SME Development Committee. Thank you, Doctor, for accepting our invitations to be a panelist today. And also, I'm inviting Professor Lakshman R. Watawala also to be a panelist. He's the incumbent president of Sme Sri Lanka and also coordinator of Sme Sri Lanka COVID-19 SME Development Committee. And we have Mr. Suresh Mel, chairman of Export Development Authority, and also, as Professor highlighted, he's an active member of Sme Sri Lanka SME COVID-19 SME Development Committee. And with together that we have Mr. Sunil Jayaratne, Chairman and Director General of National Enterprise Development Authority, we call as NEDA. Thank you for coming here and joining with us today to discuss more into these challenges and opportunities. And also we have Ms. Ishani Aberatna, Director Public Enterprise from the Ministry of Industries. Before she take over as Director Public Enterprise, she was engaged as a director. She was handled the role as a Director SME Development at the Ministry of Industries. Also, we have invited our financial professional, Dr. Chamara Bandara, Founder and Managing Director of Corporate Doctors. He also active member of CMA Sri Lanka COVID-19 SME Development Committee, and he support us in the SME financing side throughout the period. Also with us today, Mr. Atula Edrisinghe also joining, Managing Partner, Strategic Management Alliance Lanka. So Mr. Atula also is a very active member of CMA Sri Lanka COVID-19 SME Development Committee, and throughout the period, he is also contributing to bring the lot of knowledge to SME development. And also Mr. Venkata Ramani from India. He is a Director, Westcott Electrical Private Limited, Chennai. Mr. Venkata Ramani, time to time with us, giving a lot of insight to develop how we can develop SME sector from India. He's a very good supporter for the committee and giving the support of to develop these SMEs in the country during this pandemic time. So today, panel discussions will be moderated by Dr. Ravi Bamnusinghe. So he's also one of the committee member of CMA Sri Lanka COVID-19 SME Development Committee. Dr. Ravi Bamnusinghe is a founder of SL SMEs and management strategist. He also a visiting faculty of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. So I invited Dr. Ravi Bamnusinghe to take over the panel discussions and carry out, continue with the panel from here onwards. Dr. Bamnusinghe.
Thank you, Damit. Thank you, Damit, for the kind introduction and introducing the panel members as well. That saved time for me also. Today, development of SME sector, challenges and opportunities. General Daya Ratnayake, Secretary, Ministry of Industries. Taking challenges is not a new thing to the general, but the challenge here is you are getting new challenges of different contexts. So that's what we are trying to look at in that manner. So when we listened to the general speech, I think we were very intrigued because he said that the SME government is considering SMEs as an important sector, and then you also mentioned 80% small medium enterprises and contribute to GDP meaningfully and various other things. So once you put the whole thing into essence for the today's discussion, I may say General has drawn our attention to taxation, then legal issues, then also price competencies and marketing, then economies of scale and the such related challenges, because today large companies are taking advantage with various dollar issues and all that. Then also General has spoken about staff retention, less staff and how to manage staff kind of things, and obviously working capital. And then also he mentioned about loan difficulties and capex. So not being able to have capex for development and growth. And then most importantly, market access and export market opportunities. Then also he was talking about the utilization of technology and how to get the advantage of technology into their respective businesses. Then also finally, very interesting information he mentioned, component manufacturing. I think as you rightfully said, it has picked up. So you were talking about those several things. So now we have a very interesting, diverse panel of several members. So what I would like to do is, in the first round, each panel member will have about 3 minutes, and for them to comment about whatever the opportunities and challenges that the general has spoken about and enlighten the audience. But as Damit said earlier, now past 2 years, we were talking about what to do. But today we need to talk about how to do and how we can carry out it further for the benefit of the SMEs. Well, that's what our audience are looking at. So I would request to each of the panel members to see how best you can tell the audience how can be done. That kind of things on these kind of areas. Now, since we have a diverse panel, I was thinking that first of all, we need to invite Dr. Kulathunga Rajapaksa to talk what are your observation of a general speech, as well as any other thoughts that you would like to talk about. Over to you, Dr. Kulathunga.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi Pamanusinghe, Professor Lakshman Matawala, and General Ratnayake. I'm very glad to meet you today at this seminar. General Ratnayake has elaborated a lot of things on SME sector, but still for all there are certain areas that probably you would have missed out, or you may be, we may have to, I want to draw his attention. Now, it is true that at every fora, all the politicians mention that SME is the backbone of the in the economy, and it must be developed. But there are a lot of gray areas that the government has to attend, and General Ratnayake has commented on certain areas, but I will mention the important areas. Now, as regard to the definition, General Ratnayake mentioned the definition, but that definition is not the common definition that every department. Inland Revenue and Central Bank have different versions. So I think the Ministry of Industry is to take the lead and have a one common definition, because whatever he mentioned is there but when it comes to the Inland Revenue, when it comes to the Central Bank and banks, when they grant the loans, this definition shifted here and there. So therefore, I suggest that the Ministry of Industry take the lead and have a definition that is applicable to all the sectors. That is number one. Other thing is, Ratnayake mentioned about the registration. Right now, there is no formal registration. There is no formal body to represent the SME sector. That's the biggest disadvantage that we have, and especially when they are dispersing this COVID pandemic loans, this was one of the serious issues that came up. So therefore, there should be a common one registration body, which is very simple to register, so that at a given time, to the digital platform that we have, we should be able to pass the message within a very short period. That type of arrangement is not there. Large chambers are not entertaining small SME sector because of the entry fee and the membership fee, and they can't afford to pay that. Therefore, there should be an organization, or there must be a system, so that the SME sector can be registered and all the contact numbers and details are there, so that the message can be drilled down to the bottom. That is one thing. Then the other thing is SME sector in the case of agriculture sector, for example, they are one of the key important players in the supply chain. But unfortunately, they do only a very small part of the supply chain. Ultimately, the final person who is handling it would be a large company, but they don't allow the small sectors to develop because they want to keep under their control. A very simple example is there are a lot of SME sector who are supplying goods to large supermarkets. It is true that manufacturing is difficult. Nowadays, marketing is also equally difficult. The third point is, even after marketing, collection of funds or the proceeds is also another nightmare. So therefore, I think Mr. Venkataraman is here. He will comment on this, how this problem is settled in Indian market. Because right now, the biggest problem, as General Ratnayake mentioned, the SME sector supplying goods to large companies, they are unable to collect their proceeds within a stipulated period. Sometimes it extends to 60 to 90 days. I think Mr. Venkataraman will definitely elaborate on how the SME sector has been safeguarded by the large companies through legislation. So
Dr.
Kulathunga
Rajapaksa, I think we have a lot of opportunity to talk other issues also. With the interest of time, may I invite the next panelist, and then we will be able to continue in because the initial 3-minute time management, I think we need to adhere to some extent. I thank you very much for the insights that you have given. I know you are very hands-on, very concerned towards SMEs, so that as contribution is much appreciated. May I call upon now Mr. Sunil Jayaratne, Chairman, Director General of National Enterprise Development Authority. Right. Over to you, Mr. Sunil Jayaratne, to make your initial observations, and also you can talk about the kind of things at NEDA that are being done.
Very good evening, Dr. Bamanusingha, Professor Lakshman Vatawala, our Secretary General Ratnayake, and the distinguished participant. Very good evening to you all. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I would like to give a little briefing regarding the National Enterprise Development Authority's mandated objectives and functions. In addition, in line with the matters explained by General Daya Ratnayake, our Secretary. National Enterprise Development Authority is the key authority which is functioning under the purview of Ministry of Industries. It is functioning under the Act number 17 of 2006. We have been mandated to develop, promote, and facilitation of the MSME sector, as a couple of facilitators and the speakers mentioned. Contribution towards the country's economic GDP is approximately 52%. Approximately 75% of employments are provided from this sector. This is very key as far as economic development is concerned. So when we talk about the facilitation of and development of the MSME, I would like to mention a couple of fields, especially the financial assistance, providing of financial assistance, non-financial assistance as infrastructure facilities, as our General Ratnayake mentioned, and technological assistance and the capacity building and awareness programs, etc. Keeping that in mind, the National Enterprise Development Authority have been adapted couple of numerous programs during last couple of years, especially to develop and promote the MSME sector. Today, actually, as our Secretary mentioned, one of the key challenges faced by the MSME sector industrialists is non-having of required market taxes and unbearable trade costs, etc., among the other challenges. In order to provide national and international market access, we have established a digital platform called Made in Sri Lanka Trade Portal under the as per the concept of Honorable Minister Vimal Weerawansa. Actually, today the entire community is very well familiar with the digital transformation. So in last December, we have established first and the foremost digital e-platform called Made in Sri Lanka Trade Portal to provide national and international market access, which will be highly beneficial to achieve the required market access. We have 273 development officers assigned under each divisional secretariat. They are in the process of collecting MSME data. We have identified approximately 500,000 MSMEs in this country. According to the previous statistics, there were 1 million. Unfortunately, 50% of the industries have been abandoned as a result of some financial issues, non-having of market access, etc. So the other key endeavor is also Made in Sri Lanka, providing of Made in Sri Lanka logo, because encouragement is very much important. Recognition is very much important. We know that there are entrepreneurs, the manufacturing amazing products in this country. The unfortunate thing is we are not recognizing and using those things, because it is very difficult to compete with the imported goods as a result of some standards. The quality of the products and the standards are a bit of low, as our Secretary mentioned. And the other one of the key endeavors is Upadhikari Vyavsayak Udani, that is the program is called Brain into Business, we provide financial assistance to the university students to start up businesses rather than hanging on the employment queues. And another key process is called incubation center for the people who expect to get the startups, people who has no other facility infrastructure, facilities, machineries, and financial assistance. So we have established incubation centers with the coordination of state universities. I think according to the time constraint, I have to stop here.
Yeah.
During the I have to comply with the time management. So, Doctor, we would like to answer any questions. We have to discuss some other numerous programs that have been adopted by the National Enterprise Development Authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jayaratna, being mindful about the time constraint also. And also there will be, because we have requested on the chat box to post some questions. So some of the audience questions will come. So with that, I think we may be able to probe in the next round of discussion you maybe have an opportunity to discuss some other aspects also where NEDA can contribute to. Now, may I call upon Dr. Chamara Bandara, founder, managing director, corporate directors, private limited, because our general Daya Ratnayake also mentioned about working capital, loan difficulties, and capex and so forth. So I request Dr. Chamara Bandara whether you could, rather than discussing the issue, what are the kind of solutions that could have been you can think about in that area, and please be mindful about the time constraint also.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Babul Singh. You can disturb me in case if I exceed 3 minutes. Right. Very nice speeches and the presentations. From Dr. Daya Ratnayake, we got some information that we should know before, but unfortunately we didn't know. So the major issue, in the sense, some initiatives government has taken right now for SMEs that we must also know. So that's what I meant. There's a gap. And then, as you said very clearly, so issues that even through my own research, that recognize SMEs in Sri Lanka, it's about 44% that is a business failure in Sri Lanka. So why they fail their businesses, that we know many reasons. In that particularly financial management skills, where that's my area of interest, is lacking. It means that these SMEs in Sri Lanka, right, especially they are asymmetric information. In the sense, like information, lacking with them is a critical factor, right, for them to succeed in their business. That means the knowledge. So when it comes to knowledge and also critically important financial management, they know that they can do business. Even we can give millions and billions of loans and finance to the businesses. They don't know how to manage their finance, right? That is another big disaster when it comes to these SMEs. Now, as solutions, now in Sri Lanka, more than 50-60, there are government institutes scattered over here in Sri Lanka to manage authorized SMEs. But right now, I heard it from Mr. Daya Ratnayake, it is like amalgamate. That's a good initiative. So there should be legal mechanism behind that to support also. Also, we also can, as institute, together we can also support the government implement those kind of issues that SME sector is facing right now. And when it comes to SME, as I told you, that is the service what we get from the government authorities, even private sector, they scattered. Therefore, we don't have proper database when it comes to SMEs. We don't have proper database. Even for my own research, to find SMEs database, it's nowhere aligned. So therefore, it's critically important we should have database. If we have database, we can clearly understand industry-wise, nature-wise of the business, the issues that SME sector is faced. Therefore, an example, when it comes to financial management difficulties and the knowledge that they have is not sufficient to manage their business. So what we should do? Then as we were doing, right, we can do programs like, in USA, like SBA, Small Business Administration, that is an authority established by that government. Likewise, we can have institute. Through those institute, we should be able to reach out to them and to sort out their matters, especially as someone mentioned, business incubator, another one solution. But having business incubator by words not enough. We can't gather that entrepreneurs, SME entrepreneurs to these business incubators and to the system. Therefore, for us to change these SMEs in Sri Lanka, it required entrepreneurial culture to bring in Sri Lanka. Therefore, knowledge is widespread. So therefore, they know what is a marketing, what is financial disciplines, and the tax compliance. Even tax compliances, they must know to whom that they should reach out. But they don't have that information as well. Therefore, information gap is severely with the SME sector people. Therefore, I think together we should work towards this SME sector progress, so we can improve their skills, we can give their advices. So I think this is a good mechanism right now. Dr. Bamunasinghe, with 3 minutes, I'll take it the next round. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chamara, much appreciated. Now, we are very happy to, we are planning to go to India because we have Mr. Ramachandran Venkataramani, who is the director, Westcott Electronics Private Limited, Chennai, India, who has lot of different experiences with regard to SMEs, which can enlighten us on some of our challenges that we were talking about. So over to you, Mr. Venkataramani. Could you please be mindful about the time constraint and also talk us about, I also would like to, because I can remember you mentioned about some time back about the SME Act. So if you can briefly give us some kind of insight onto the SME Act that has been incorporated in India, I think much appreciated.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, President CMA Sri Lanka. See, in 2006, Government of India enacted a legislation called MSME Act, Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises Act. That act, it is meant for protecting the rights of the MSME units actually. And the Chapter 5 of the Act is regarding working capital. This one, there were bills supplied by small medium enterprises to large units, whether it is to government department or to large units, non-MSME units actually. Those payments have to be made within 45 days because the legislation itself says that the payment has to be made within 45 days. That is the first point actually. Chapter 5 of the Act says actually. Then second point is, suppose if the large unit or some government department or anything, they are not paying in 45 days, there is a redressal mechanism available in the Act itself. The Chapter 5 itself has got a redressal mechanism where every state has got a separate committee for this one, addressing the grievances of MSME entrepreneurs. So it is presided over by the Director of Industries of the concerned state, a representative from a bank, representative from a MSME association, and any other eminent person who can be inducted into the whole thing. They will pass a judgment and which is binding on this one. It is like a civil court. They don't have to go to the court and get the legislation, get the grievances addressed actually. This is a very great boon to MSME units. I would like to, I request the Secretary to consider this legislation for Sri Lankan SME entrepreneurs. Not only this one, Government of India has requested the Central Bank, that is Reserve Bank of India, to ensure that the payments are also enabled based on these 45 days. They don't have to wait for 45 days. And the Reserve Bank of India has brought out a scheme called TREDS, Trade Receivable Discounting Scheme. It is an electronic platform in which both the buyer, seller is a MSME unit, buyer is a large unit or government department, and financiers are banks and financial institutions. All the three are coming to the platform. Once the debt is accepted by the large unit in the platform, it is binding on them to make payment on the 45th day, irrespective of this one. And in between, for the 45 days, any financier can bid and take the bill. They can finance a bill at a very nominal rate of interest, very competitive rate of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Venkataramani, for that insight. I think it will be useful to our General Daya Ratnayake and the team that are being. I think we can have a later learning in that context. Now, may I like to call upon Mr. Atula Edirisinghe, Managing Partner, Strategic Management Alliance, Lanka, who has a wealth of experience in international trade and so forth. So over to you, Mr. Atula Edirisinghe, to talk about your perspective of what General Ratnayake was talking about and what we can tell, but please be mindful about the time constraint also. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. It's really encouraging to hear General Daya Ratnayake referring to SMEs as a group having high potential, they are a promising group of people, and also, the government is committed to government policies to upgrade their strengths and create environment on which they can develop into MSMEs to SMEs, then to medium and large companies. We are very happy to hear that. Dr. Daya, at the same time, I think now that you are you are thinking of developing an industrial policy, we have to also understand certain changes that happened in the recent past that we see in the marketplace. Now, COVID-19, of course, it was a disaster, no doubt, but it also brought certain new vistas to certain groups of people. I think for SMEs, that created a great opportunity, both in the local markets and also outside external markets. Local markets, you see, we found that during the period of shutdowns and lockdowns, their products used to come into the last mile delivery. All that used to be handled by various small SMEs. So there was a new opportunity that came, but of course, with activity normalizing, that SMEs disappeared again from the radar. So what happened was the large supermarkets and large retailers, they took that business, which was their business at the beginning. But then the international marketplace, now take for instance in Sri Lanka, some of the products, some of the SME products they can have a very good acceptance in the international markets. But unfortunately, what happened is we still, when we think of SME, we think of a person who's confined to an area, who's doing a product and selling in the local market. And we are not, I don't think now the government or the other organizations are still able to take them to the right place. Today, in the international market, e-commerce is developing so rapidly. And people don't want, in the developing country, they don't want to go to supermarkets anymore. The e-commerce companies are coming up. And these companies gives a tremendous advantage to our SMEs because they don't need large quantities like what China is producing. They want small quantities, and these quantities will have to be retail packed, and it should be in smaller delivery portions. And these SMEs, these e-commerce companies are looking for such suppliers. So I'm sure we have Mr. Suresh Dimel, who will enlighten on these new opportunities we have. But I think from the Ministry of Industry's point of view, General Daya, with a person like you heading this unit, which probably you understand the ground situation much better than many others. You have been in armed forces and you know how your scouts work and how your top brass work. So what we would like you to do is to have a dialogue with people who are in the industry, who will tell you the market opportunities, how we can elevate these SMEs, how we can bridge their gaps, how we can create mechanisms and work together so that we can give them the due place in the marketplace, both local and overseas market.
Thank you, Mr. Atula Edirisinghe. Thank you very much for your contribution. Now, may I want to call upon Ms. Ishani Aberatna. Actually, I have kept you as the 6th panelist with a reason, because I wanted you to listen to these kind of the insights and explanations and experiences. And I know 3 minutes is not a large enough time to talk about. Can you pick 1 or 2 and tell us what are the things that are happening on behalf of the SMEs in today's world? Because that is what we need to look at it. Rather than we need not to talk about what could be done, I think we need to talk about something what are happening in today's context. Over to you, Ms. Ishani Aberatna.
Right. Thank you very much. I think there are so many good points came up from these discussions, from the panel discussions. But I would like to elaborate on a few things within this limited time. Our moderator very correctly said the financial, operational, and technological aspects are major issues in the SME sector development. I have heard from my seniors in the government sector that during 1970s or the late 60s, Dr. N.M. Pereira started DFCC, CISIR, and the IDB with these things in mind to develop SME sector or the industries or the Sri Lankan business. DFCC, actually CISIR, or today's in context it is ITI, to innovate, new innovation. Then IDB to transfer the technology, and DFCC to finance. But unfortunately, in today's context, all these three institutions going in three different ways. The initial purpose has not been met. And at the same time, the National Craft Council, National Design Center, and the Laksala. So that also came under one act. That also idea of Dr. N.M. Pereira came under one act for our traditional industries, traditional SME sector. National Craft Council to develop the craftsmen, National Design Center to design to the market new designs, and the Laksala for marketing. But even today's context, so this amalgamation or this required coordination is not there. So I think Mr. Bandara very correctly said, there are so many institutions. He said nearly more than 60 institutions doing SME. Even in the ministries and the departments, so many ministries are doing SMEs. And I don't know whether it's good to say, but actually, even though the 60 odd institutions are doing SMEs, actually no one is doing SME development, right? So when we come to the definition, Dr. Rajapaksha said this definition is not practically applicable in the revenue department and the banks. Yeah, that's true. But even before that, before this SME policy, there was no definition at all. So with this SME policy introduced in 2016, actually it has taken nearly 15 years to present this SME policy. It started from SME white paper, and it has taken nearly 15 years to come out. So this is this Inland Revenue Department and the banks, even in the same bank, different loan schemes use different definitions. So that's why we introduced this SME definition. But we have taken it somewhat further, but actually we couldn't taken it to one particular point. So that's true, we have to understand, and actually we have to work on it. I think my time is over.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Ishani, very much about it. And you were talking about the importance of synergy. I think that's very good. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I think we have to now. I kept Professor Lakshman Vatavala as the last panelist to talk about.
I think why don't you invite Mr. Suresh Kimen?
I'm coming into Professor with the Mr. Atul Edirasinghe's. There are a couple of things that I need to clarify. Professor Vatavala, in your introductory speech, you mentioned briefly National Credit Guarantee Institute. Could you give a little bit more detail within a very short time we have at the moment for the audience to understand, because their SMEs need to make use of that. So that is the kind of message I think we need to impart to the others. Brief introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. And I must congratulate General Daya Ratnayake, because he gave an excellent presentation with looking at the different areas. Now, one of the main areas he pinpointed was the non-availability of finance. I think this is really access to finance and also the collateral. A lot of the people can't go, they can't do even startup and others. So that's why we, as I said, we took this proposal, and then I think, General, you should be proud because you all took the initiative, your minister took the initiative, and now this is approved. by the cabinet, and I just checked with the finance ministry because I invited them to come, but they said that they don't want to come, but for me to tell what is happening. So they are now implementing this. One thing is they are working with the Asian Development Bank, and ADB has initially agreed to give $50 million. Then, of course, later another 50 million will come to make it 100 million. Then they are working with the banks and non-financial institutions, a total of about 14 to 15 who will be partners in this project. So this will be a public-private partnership where the government will have almost 90% with the money that is coming from ADB, and then the others coming in, so that this would be really a professional body that will look at the lending criteria and all the necessary criteria to give the fund. So this has really will help all the SMEs and others, because what will happen is the SMEs can go to their respective banks, and then the banks will prepare the proposal and submit it to the credit guarantee institution, and then once they are satisfied, they will give the guarantee in order that the loan can be given by the commercial bank. So that means you don't need the collateral. That was really a problem for the SME sector. So this has been overcome, and we are waiting maybe by about June. I'm hopeful that this will come through. So definitely it will also help the startup industries, because they do not have any capital, and the new and the small and medium sectors would come in. So I think this is really one of the most important areas that can be done. But I would also like to add, General Ratnayake, that if we can have this SME Development Act, I think you have a very good organization, the NEDA that is there, whether this could be looked into, and they already have the infrastructure where they can get more power. I think the power is the most essential thing. If you can have this act coming under them where we can do certain changes, and where the power is there, you don't have to run to every place. Otherwise, now you have to go to so many places. But if you have the power where you can say you should supply the goods, you should pay within this time, and all these things could be controlled from your side. So I would strongly suggest General Ratnayake that we look at this, and we can certainly get the support from Mr. Venkatramani, who will be able to support us in this regard.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. Now I would like to take what Mr. Atula Edirisinghe was talking about in exporting. Since we have the Export Development Board chairman, what are your comments with regard to this SME? Because we have a serious challenge getting our products exported, right? Once again, with the time into consideration, I would really like to hear your thoughts about it in that context, Mr. Suresh Dimel.
Good evening to all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sirs. I would like to focus on the SMEs being an informal sector. A majority of our SMEs are vastly informal, and they are also from the regions. Now, this brings a lot of issues up that General Daya talked about, and all the previous speakers spoke about, when it comes to customer-centric thinking, which is mandatory for exporting or manufacturing anything. So I would like to propose, in the couple of minutes I have, that regional private sector institutional capacity is lacking in this country. I was involved in founding the first district level Chamber of Commerce in Hambantota 30 years ago. And that was after 150 years of Ceylon Chamber of Commerce that we formed a district level chamber 30 years ago. And today, 180 years since Ceylon Chamber was formed, and we have a 30-year-old district Chamber of Commerce movement that has no capacity. Now, this is something that I feel is necessary to uplift our SMEs because most of them are in the regions. Now, we've worked over the years with the Central Chambers of Commerce, with INGOs, with NEDA, with IDB, with EDB. However, all initiatives seem to be ad hoc and not continuous. Now, this is something where, in order to make our SMEs formal, I think we need to have district level formal private sector organizations. Because if it is an INGO or if it is a government, the SMEs become dependent. Whereas if it was a private sector organization, they will be more contributory and they will keep it alive. Today, traders associations are doing well, but the district chambers of commerce are not, because people are not investing in it. People don't know the value of it. So we need proper leadership in these chambers, and we also need there to be a credible voice coming from the SMEs. Today, the SMEs do not have a voice. And that's again part of the problem. We do not have data of the SMEs. So managing this sector is extremely different. And I'm sure that they are growing faster than the formal sector. Today, the SMEs are growing much faster, I think, especially in tourism and so on. You can see it all over the country. Now, regulating them is not the solution, because the reason they are informal is because of regulations and fear of taxes and labor laws and all that. So my solution is, again, build awareness in the regions, continuous engagement with SMEs at the district level. And this is, I feel, extremely important as we go forward, because in order to have the reliability of a supplier and integrate them into the value chains, as we were talking about, it's so important that they become reliable suppliers. Otherwise, they will never get integrated into the value chains and supply chains that are necessary.
Thank you,
So
Mr. Dimel. Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Dimel. Yeah, thank you very much for your deeper insight about experience-driven. You've been an exporter quite a long time. Thank you very much for your contribution. Now I'm looking at some questions from the audience. I like to draw this question to Dr. Kulatunga Rajapaksa. There is a question mentioning the general syndrome of SME compliance. After making certain level of financial status, there's no motive, there's no drive to make the company bigger. So what are your thoughts about that, how to mitigate that, Dr. Kulatunga?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, SME can't be an SME or right throughout. SME has to graduate themselves to the next level. Yeah. To bring to the next level, as Mr. Venkatram mentioned, the serious drawback is lack of working capital, because their capital is tied up with the buyers. That is one thing that has to be looked into. Other one is there should be a, because SME is a manufacturer. Manufacturer cannot be an exporter. That is why I think Mr. Atul Singh didn't mention about it, that we need an intermediary of export houses for them to give the guidance to upgrade their product to the export level. Because in all the countries, the manufacturer doesn't export. It is something intermediary who will do the export part of it. Therefore, the setting up of export houses who will do the needful and prepare the goods to meet the export requirement. The export house concept has been brought in, but I don't think it has taken off the ground. General Ratnayake will look into that. This has been prepared long time ago. That is one area. Other one is, as Dr. Chamara mentioned, the financial management. SMEs can be there to a certain level. Beyond that level, they need financial guidance. That is not available right now because they are very weak in financial management. So therefore, some sort of independent body should guide them how to manage their finances. That is why they will come to a certain level. Beyond that, they will not expand themselves because their priorities are different after that. They are satisfied with the income that they get from there onwards. Whatever the income that they get is not profit. They have to divide distribute the income into different areas. So the part is required for the expansion and investment, which is not happening. So that is why the SMEs are always stagnated at one level. To promote that from beyond that level, the financial inputs, marketing inputs, all that have been required, which is not happening, and especially the working capital. I think Professor Ratnayake mentioned about the guarantee scheme, because SME sector cannot take a loan because they don't understand how to give the collateral and all that. But if the credit guarantee scheme is brought in with the guidance of financial management, SME will definitely graduate themselves to the next level.
Thank you, Dr. Kulathunga Rajapaksa. Actually, there was from the audience, there was a question on financial literacy. You also have highlighted. So I think Dr. Chamar has a greater responsibility to add value to the financial literacy aspect. Within one or two words, can you make a comment, please?
No, now, Dr. Ravi, this is what, how to do a financial management disciplines. That of course we can tell, this and that 1 or 2, 3. But what I'm trying to say generally, right? SME sector entrepreneurs, they don't understand the importance of proper financial management until they get stuck somewhere. I have got a good example, practical experience. Recently also they are calling me and asking. That is a last chap that they had to do it, but it's gone now. Yeah. So therefore now they realize they have to have financial management practice. Good example is that my research, it says second critical variable, second critical factor for business failure in Sri Lanka is financial management, poor financial management, or lack of financial management practice.
Thank you, Dr. Chamar. Thank you, much appreciated. I want to come back to Mr. Sunil Jayaratna. Now you mentioned in your initial round, you're talking about creating market access. But then again, Mr. Jayaratna, with the interest of time, in few words, can you please let the audience know what do you mean, what is your mechanism at NEDA to help to people to have market access? Mr. Sunil Jayaratna.
Thank you, Doctor. Actually, that is one of the key challenges currently faced by the Sri Lankan entrepreneurs, especially MSME sector. The National Enterprise Development Authority has taken numerous steps, and some are in the pipeline in order to provide the national and international market access. One is the digital platform, state-owned, the one and only state-owned and foremost digital platform for the providing of national and international market access. In addition to that, we annually conduct regional and international trade fairs. As a result of COVID, it has been unable to conduct regional trade fairs, and they're providing direct contacts to conquer the export market. We have some sort of data in our own data in the National and Enterprise Development Authority, or with the coordination of institutions such as EDB, we provide market access to the required people.
Thank you, Mr. Jayaratna. Now I would like to come to Mr. Venkataramani, ask to get a 1 or 2 word response. Now you mentioned about the SME Act, MSME Act in India. Now, in terms of success, can you, in 1 or 2 words, can you make a comment, please? Success, how successful it is?
Yeah, it is definitely successful, sir. After the MSME Act, this small and medium units are achieved of payment before 45th day, on or before 45th day.
Thank you, Mr. Venkataraman. Thank you very much. Now I would like to come to Mr. Atul Edirisinghe. Any last thought in few words, Mr. Edirisinghe, in the light of today's discussion, please?
No, I think there are the fact that Dr. Kulathunga Rajapaksa mentioned about this export house concept. I think to take the SMEs to the international market, when there is an opportunity, if you don't make use of it, it will be an opportunity lost. So export houses is a very important thing. And also there is another, in fact, from this forum, we made a proposal to the government to make use of the opportunity, like in Vietnam, to propagate the freshwater fish, because Vietnam is it's earning $4 billion every year by exporting freshwater fish. Sri Lanka, we have the ideal conditions. Our kings have given us reservoirs, rivers, water is available. It's not happening so far. So these are the areas where I think the government should give priority and look into these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edirisinghe. May I call upon Ms. Ishani Abeyratna. Any final thought in the light of today's discussion, please?
Yes, actually there are so many steps that the government has taken But I think all these initiatives that we have taken has not come into light and to the knowledge of the SME sector. We were discussing that the SMEs has to go from pillar to post to get their work done, right? So therefore, we initiated the concept to get all services at one place. We initiated as a pilot project at Monaragala in 2019. That of course afterwards taken by the Ministry of Samudra and Enterprise Development, and now they have gone up to 5 district centers. So that one particular center, if an entrepreneur goes there, he can do all sort of his registration and other assistance and licensing requirements. There are officers to help them from various sectors. As an example, we have trained some officers how to do a business company registration. Now, company registration is a now online process. So we have trained officers at Monragal initially how to do a business company registration. Likewise, with the support of Chrysalis, they have established 5 centers. I think last week they have opened at Badulla, Matale, and Nuwarelia. Likewise, there are 5 centers.
Thank you, Ms. Aberatna. Thank you, much appreciated.
Dr. Bamunusinghe, I'm disturbing one particular thing that I want to say because of Ms. Ishani mentioned. Recently, I got a call from Polonnaruwa, one young entrepreneur. The problem was that this to start a business, for him to start a business, AG office instructed him to have a building, right? He's putting up a building. I said, who told you? This is what I told this office. I said, come on. For you to register a business, you need to have office place or the separate address or a building, right? Likewise, it's all over in Sri Lanka, this lack of information. It's very, very critical. So,
thank you, Dr. Bandara.
Yes,
I think Ms. Aberatna will make a note of it and do the necessary administrative corrections in that education. Yes, right. Now, our professor, whatever wanted to finish this event at around 8 o'clock. My apologies, is running few minutes late. Now, I would like to come to our General Daya Ratnayake. Having heard all these things, diverse views about experience, professional, state bodies' comments, what is your final thought or what is the kind of thinking that you have in mind about the future? Because as you rightfully said, the SMEs are our future. We need to strengthen them, empower them, and drive them for greater performances to contribute to the GDP. If that happens, I don't think we need to cry for dollars anymore. So over to you, General Daya Ratnayake, to make a comment.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and without taking much time, I will say this kind of discussions, I thank Professor Vatawala and the team. Very nice comments and superb comments that came from the discussion. And this kind of thing must be taken forward, and we have to have this. But no point blaming these entrepreneurs at lower level, SMEs and the SME sector, because they are doing their best to do that. Nobody wants to invest and lose their business. So likewise, we have to have some system, some legislative measures, some form. The government, the ministry is now doing NEDA and IDB and so many other institutions under the Ministry of Industries trying to educate people, and even the financial management and all that, we have to educate these people. Because when they come and invest, as everyone says, they don't know how to sustain it. In order to do that, we got to educate. So education is one of the key things, and creating awareness. There are so many opportunities available for people to do that, but awareness is a serious issue. People don't know that someone said Polonnaruwa thing like that. There are isolated incidents like this. All these things happen because the officials do not know what's happening. Officials do not know what's facilities available in the country. So officials do not know where to guide these people. Likewise, the education means not only the one sector, but entire spectrum. We got to keep educating this field regularly, and then create right opportunities, and without which we always will be, like Suresh was saying, very ad hoc. But we have to first transform this from ad hoc to proper strategy. So without which we will not be able to achieve the success that we are expecting to achieve.
Thank you, General Daya Ratnayake, much appreciated. Now I would like to come to Professor Lakshman R. Vatawala. Any final thought in the light of today's discussion before I hand it over to Damit?
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. There are a few matters that I just want to point out, which of course we have been working on. First is that at the moment, the private sector is having around 100,000 jobs available. Unfortunately, they don't have the people available for this. So we were suggesting whether you will be able to take action with the Samruddhi Development Authority, where they can send these people to these various industries in order that these jobs could be given. So that's one area. Then we have already prepared proposals that is on the MSME Development Act. And we don't want to set up a new authority, but maybe an existing authority. If we can get more power, I think it will help the SME sector. Then of course, then the credit guarantee institution already set up. I think we will follow up and then see that by June or so that it will come up. Then the export houses, I think this is a very good concept. If we can work now, the EDB is also there, but if we can get also the support from the Ministry of Industries, we can put it through. And then we also gave another very good proposal that is for the MSME consumer products preparation, because a lot of them were complaining that they are not in the right condition for them to sell. So that's the other thing that we are looking. So these are some of the important things, but I'm very happy that we have been able to have this keynote address and the discussion, which has opened a very, very big area, which we can take forward. And from our side, we will certainly be able to give all the full support to make this SME sector and the MSME sector a great success.
Thank you, Professor, for your final thoughts. Personally, I had a very insightful experience by listening to all of you, and working with SMEs. I am very happy that this kind of develops are going to shape our future, our children's future, and therefore I must thank each one of the panelists, as well as Professor Vatawala and Mr. Suresh Dimel, and finally General Daya Ratnayake for your contribution. And I hope together we all can make this change. And I'm sure with a leader like General Daya Ratnayake, I think we can make this transformation. Over to you, Damit, to do the finale.
Thank you, Dr. Bhavanasinghe. I think we had a very valuable insight from the expert panel to further strengthen the policy framework discussed by the General Daya Ratnayake and the NEDA officials. I think it is a time for us to have a collaborative effort to build the ecosystems to sustain the SMEs in the country. So I think now we need to go on developing the new framework or enhance the framework to uplift the quality of the goods manufactured by the SMEs, targeting the export market and especially financial practices of the SMEs. That's a very much important and key determinant of the success of SMEs. And also knowledge development in terms of the digital acceptance and the financial management and the compliances. So that's the key areas also in sustaining the SMEs at the country. And also now we have to have innovative financial solutions to support. Rather we go for the collateral, either equity investments or some sort of different financial tools we need to come up with. I think now already a database is developed by the NEDA. That's a very, very important notice given by the chairman. So we have to appreciate that. That's a timely need, and we are facing a lot of difficulties in terms of not having the common database in the country with regards to SMEs, not only SMEs, all the other business in the country to take the certain national level decision. So those are the very important thing. Now, as a professional body, CMA Sri Lanka, throughout these 2 years, are collaborating with the various governments and private institutions to sustain SMEs. So this is another event we are concluding today with the discussions of the panel. I hope everyone got the idea, and only thing we need to change our mindset. To change the country, to change the economy, and to change the business, so we have to change our mindset. So we have to come out from our comfort zone to bring meet these challenges in the new normal economy. So with that, I'm inviting Professor Wattawala to conclude today's event with his remarks. Over to you, Professor Wattawala.
Thank you, Damit. I think I will not take much time, but I must especially thank General Daya Ratnayake, because actually the interest that he showed has really given us a new dimension to the SME sector and industrial development in Sri Lanka. So I'm sure that we have made a lot of proposals, so we will submit all these in order that what we discussed today, so that we can make it a success. So let me thank General Daya Ratnayake for sparing his valuable time and also agreeing to come in, because I know it was during very short notice, but he certainly agreed because he knew that this is a very, very important area, and also getting his senior officials, both Ishani and also chairman of NEDA, to be here. In fact, the IDB chairman was also supposed to be there, but he was not well. But certainly, I think they have contributed very well to this whole thing. Then also from our own side, the experience, the leadership qualities of those mainly engaged in the private sector, because what I feel is that if we can work, the public-private partnership is really the major success in any event. There, Dr. Kulatunga Rajapaksa, who's really very well matured in all these areas and will be able to give the correct advice and also help us. Of course, Mr. Suresh Dimel, who was our member, but now is the chairman of the Export Development Board. I think, Suresh, I hope that you will be able to take a lot of action to implement what we are given. And now that you can do it jointly with the Secretary, Ministry of Industries, as he will give all the support. And I'm sure that we will be able to make it a success. And of course, our other panelists, Mr. Atul Edrisinghe, is always talking of the export houses, which is really something that we should take forward. And of course, Dr. Chamara is the one who is really safeguarding the financial aspects of any company. He's able to tell them what has to be really done, because without the funding and of course properly managing it, because a lot of them are having 2-3 books, some of them are not even having bank accounts, they want to have all cash accounts, they don't mean proper books of accounts. But I think we have to do some changes in that, where every company should maintain their records, which should be compulsory, because this will help the banks from going bankrupt, because then the banks can also help these institutions do it. So once again, let me thank everyone. Our compeer, Mr. Damit, has done an excellent job, and all those participants who participated, all our commercial banks, our chambers of industry and commerce, and all others, the industry experts who have been working with us. And of course, our moderator, Dr. Ravi Bamanusinghe, you did an excellent job. And I'm sure General Daya Ratnayake will put all these things together and will give you a summary report, so that maybe that we can follow it up and then see how it could be achieved. So once again, let me thank everyone and wish everyone a very good night, and that we will be able to take this forward for the future. Thank you and all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Pachauri. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Good night. Good night.
Night.
Thank you, General Daya. Okay, right. Okay, Damit, Sunil, thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Bye.
Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good night.
So good night. Good night. So we will close up. Okay. Right. Thank you and bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Ravi. I think excellent job. Ravi is already gone. Okay.